Yo, what's happening, Raider Nation? It's your boy Soto here. You know what it is. Raiders versus the world, talking about the team that the world loves to hate, your Las Vegas Raiders. So, we're getting close. It's like a little over a week away, and I know some of us are feeling a little nervous. Some of us may be getting a little bit jittery, and that's okay because that means we're excited. Every time we have a new decision maker up in the booth, up in the front office, it's kind of like what's going to happen, right? At least we knew with like Gruden they were going to screw up the first couple rounds and then just kind of like do okay after that. But we don't know how Spytek's going to do. We don't know the dynamic with Spytek and Carroll and Brady and whoever else is in the room. We just don't know how it's going to work out. We have some high hopes. We have some good feedback from the past to be able to pull from. Like, okay, they've been really solid at this and that, but they haven't been on the clock. Until you're on the clock, you don't really know. So I decided to look into a few mock drafts. This one that I'm going to look at today is a little bit interesting because it's only a 5-round mock, which is fine. It's perfectly fine. 6 and 7 are kind of a crapshoot. It's kind of a bummer that we have 4 picks in 6 and 7, and we're not going to get to them, but it's fine. I think these first, 5 rounds are going to be plenty for us to talk about. But before we do, I want to make sure everyone please like, comment, and subscribe to this video. It's a great way to support this channel. It's absolutely free, and it's the bare minimum you can do to support the channel besides doing absolutely nothing and just watching the video, which I do appreciate. Now, let's get back to it. So, this is a very interesting and realistic mock draft. I looked at it, reviewed it a little bit, and I added a little something different, a player comp. Haven't done that in the past, but I'll do it now. And I think that once we go back and forth with this, we'll see how these picks fit into what the team wants to do. Now, granted, I understand that some people may disagree. One thing no one can say right now with any certainty whatsoever is X player won't be available at this pick. Okay? Trust me, I get it all the time. I get it in my messages, I get it in my DMs, I get it in my all that stuff. It's, oh, how can you talk about this mock draft? It's totally unrealistic. So and so will not be available at blank. Nobody has any idea. None. Unless the Titans are like, the only person that knows are the people with the Titans if they've decided we're taking Cam Ward or whoever they're taking. Let's just say, for example, it's Cam Ward. That's the only team that you can say definitively that knows exactly what's going to happen on draft day. Nobody else has any idea. Okay? So just keep that in mind when listening to this mock draft because it kind of defeats the exercise if you're looking for things to pick out of it. What I want you guys to do is kind of like look and see the logic behind the picks, see how those picks and the player comps to pros fit into what the Raiders need to have done and future schemes and fits and stuff like that. All right. So that's my disclaimer. Okay. Now, I do love a heated debate. I don't mind if someone disagrees with me. That's not a problem. I just want to make sure that we're clear on what the exercise is, not necessarily what the exercise isn't. All right, here we go. So, first round, we have pick 6. There's a lot of options here for us at 6. What we're hearing a lot is a Shedeur Sanders drop, right? A sort of a slide for Shedeur Sanders in the draft for one reason or another. There's his arm isn't as strong. The bulk and the majority of his throws were within 10 yards. It's not realistic in the NFL. You have to be able to attack people in intermediate and deep levels as well. Okay, there's that. There's a limited mobility. He holds onto the ball too long. He's a risk for turnover because of sacks, strip sacks, and his inability to drive the ball through small spaces, stuff like that. So there's a lot of talk, and that's on the field talk. I'm not going to talk about off the field stuff. That's none of us have been in the meetings. None of us know what Shedeur said or didn't say to anybody out there. So I feel it's only better only fair to talk about what we can see on the field. Those are the things that I generally agree with. Do I think Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback? I think he's a good quarterback, but ultimately there are a few things that he's missing in his game that a lot of people want to see. Don't necessarily mean a lot, but he is missing that arm strength that people normally would look for in a draft pick this high. That's fine. That's one narrative going on right now. Another one is the propensity for John Spytek, a GM room, he was at Tampa before, to go heavy on the offensive or defensive lines early in drafts. It just so happens that we seem to have a little bit of a need on the offensive line. Also, there's a little bit of a space for maybe a young interior defensive lineman. There's a lot of defensive linemen in this draft, but, people have been throwing on the name like Mason Graham a lot, who can be an option at 6. That's another one. Another one that's been thrown around has been Ashton Jeanty, the running back. He in a loaded, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a draft class, not even just running backs, but a draft class in general, as loaded with starting caliber talent than this running back class. I'm talking about just a huge pool of running backs, good ones. In that pool of running backs, one is head and shoulders above the rest, which has to tell you something, okay? It's Ashton Jeanty. Can I give a disclaimer really quick before we get any further? No one can guarantee how these guys are going to do in the pros. But as far as what they've shown on tape and how they performed in college, Ashton Jeanty is the best running back by a long shot. That's another narrative out there. It just so happens that with the first pick, number 6 overall, the Raiders were mocked as drafting Ashton Jeanty from Boise State. Okay, a little bit smaller than we might have thought. He's almost 5'9", 215, so a little bit shorter, but stout. He's thick, though, right? He's thick. He can take a pounding. The guy is super powerfully built. He excels everywhere in every facet of the running game. You can run inside power, inside zone, outside speed, outside power, outside zone. He can catch passes. He can pass protect a little bit, right? So he can pretty much do everything you ask him to do on the field. When he has the ball in his hands, he's tough to bring down. He lapped almost everybody in college football in yards after contact. I think he almost, it was something stupid. I read the stat, and let's see here. In 2024, he had 1,970 yards after contact. That is ridiculous. He had over 5 yards a rush after contact. So people want to say, oh, well, he was running against this guy and that guy and these no-name teams. Yeah, he also had 0 offensive line help, okay? He forced 152 missed tackles. Dude, it's crazy. It's just wild. 36 runs over 15 yards. It's this dude is a beast, absolute beast. His forced tackle rate is just otherworldly. The guy is tough to bring down. He's shifty. He can run around guys. He can run over guys. I don't see that his stature is a huge issue. I know he's maybe an inch or two shorter than a couple of the guys that he's being comped to. Comp that I see a lot is LaDainian Tomlinson. Other people say kind of like an Emmitt Smith-ish type of guy. He's 2 inches shorter than LaDainian Tomlinson and an inch shorter than Emmitt Smith, but similar running styles. The thing that we need to take a look at here is the versatility of an Ashton Jeanty is not common among running backs just coming out of college. You don't see guys coming out of college that have this varied a skill set, okay? On top of that, the skill set that he brings to each facet of his game is at an extremely high level. And he can only get better because he's going to get pro coaching. He's going to get, he's going to get smarter himself. His play IQ is already very high. But these are some of the things that we need to look at, not just his physical tools and his abilities, but the fact that he's a smart runner. He hits the right gap every single time. He can get a little bit dancy in the open field and try to juke people a little bit too much. But other than that, there's really not much he can do at an extremely high level. Not only is this guy a talented runner, but he's a great running back, which is a little bit different. There's guys that can get them in the open field and they're great, but there's guys that can make those 3-yard runs into 6-yard runs and 8-yard runs. And we kind of saw that last season when we were missing the Josh Jacobs type runs, and we saw what happened when those just mortal, running backs, not a Superman running backs, and we had a terrible run offense, right? So you see what happens when you got running backs that can get yards when other running backs can't, and Ashton Jeanty is one of those guys. Okay, there's some rankings here, and I want to take a look at them. These are actually pretty strong rankings. I like the way they broke this down. Out of 10. Vision, Ashton Jeanty, 9 out of 10. Spatial awareness, football IQ, and patience, 9 out of 10. Big play speed, 8 out of 10. Balance and play through contact, 10 out of 10. Mentality, fight, effort, 10 out of 10. Change of direction, flexibility, 8 out of 10. Elusiveness and footwork, 9 out of 10. Receiving, 7 out of 10. Tackle breaking, 10 out of 10. Pass protection, 6 out of 10. It's lofty praise, man. Lofty praise for this guy. And honestly, he deserves it. Okay. So we're looking at his strengths here. It's dense, compact frame. It's good center of gravity. He's got great balance. He can just bounces off the tackles. He's hard to bring down. He always fights for extra yards. His long speed is okay. It's just, I would say it's above average to good, not elite. But you don't see him getting caught from behind very often. He's got natural soft hands. He can catch the ball, and he turns right upfield. He doesn't get too dancy when he's got people around him. When he gets dancy, it's going to be in the open field. Doesn't shy away from contact. When it has to happen, he's going to go ahead and bowl through and get the extra yard or two. He's a one-cut type of guy. He's not going to be just dancing back and forth in the backfield trying to find out. He's going to get a cut, hit it, and get as many yards as he can out of the play, which is what you're looking for in a back. Be decisive and make the right decision and go for it. Some of the things that he needs to improve on, we looked at it here in his pass protection. He needs to improve in his pass protection if he wants to be a steady guy on third down. If you cannot pass protect on third down, you cannot play on third down. If you're a running back, you have to be able to be good at pass protection. That's where his stature really comes into play. When he's the guy that's being the battering ram and he's the one moving forward, his size is not that big of an issue because he weighs a good amount. He's stocky. Where it's going to be a problem is when guys are coming at him and he's the blocker. That's what's going to become an issue. I think with better technique, he's going to be fine. He's a great enough athlete and he has great enough football IQ to be able to get it down. He just needs to get better at it. And also, we talked about this. He gets a little bit too shimmy in the open field trying to make people miss. Other than that, we're talking a top quality prospect here. Pro comp is Alvin Kamara, which I see quite a bit as well. So, I mean, we can get Alvin Kamara on this team, like a prime, 22-year-old Alvin Kamara. I'd take it. All right, there goes that. So going into the second round, there's been a lot of talk about, do we take a quarterback in the second round? Do we take offensive lineman? Do we take somebody in the secondary with all the needs that we have? What it ended up happening in this mock draft is a player that had a big name on him to go earlier, maybe in the mid to maybe 3/4 of the first round, started to drop because other names got a little bit sexier. Also, in his last year in college, he didn't get done any favors by his quarterback not playing very good. And the player is Luther Burden III, a wide receiver out of Missouri. He was available in this mock draft, and it's an area of need for the Raiders. They need playmakers on offense. As much as we say, oh, well, they need interior offensive linemen, they need corners, they need this, they need that. They need playmakers, okay? They need playmakers on offense. With the lack of depth, it's kind of like the inverse. There's so much depth in the running back room, but Ashton Jeanty was so much better than everybody else. It's like almost a no-brainer. He's going to go first out of the running backs. With the wide receivers, it's kind of the opposite. There's a couple other names. There's like Higgins out there. There's a couple other names out there that you can get that are maybe a little bit more of a traditional X receiver, right? That were still available. But the reason why Luther Burden was selected was because of his ability to run after the catch. He is basically a running back in a wide receiver position. He's built like a running back. He runs like a running back. He has hands and he runs routes like a receiver. He's just tough to bring down. He's great in the screen game because he's great in the open field. He's almost like a punt returner out there. If you get him out there with any type of space around him whatsoever, he's going to make at least one guy miss. That's great for a Chip Kelly offense. If you guys know Chip Kelly offenses that runs a lot of side-to-side motion to get the defense confused, they tend to overload certain parts of the field and get the numbers on the defense to be able to get guys in space. That's what Chip Kelly schemes up very well. If you can do that with a Luther Burden, you're going to have a great weapon on your hands here. And these are guys, the two guys that are selected so far, the Ashton Jeanty and the Luther Burden, these are guys that don't need a ton of room to make stuff happen. You can just get the ball in their hands and they'll do something with it. So Luther Burden is a well-rounded athlete, right? He's about 6 feet tall. He's about 210, 215, something like that. He's agile, he's explosive, he's got power, balance. Like he's got everything you're looking for in this type of receiver. He can play on the outside. He can play in the slot. He can motion to the backfield. He can move all over the place. He's very similar in this respect to a Brock Bowers, where you can kind of put him anywhere, and he's going to be able to be successful because of his athletic ability and his versatility. There's that word again, versatility. He's tough to press on the line, man. He's got really explosive first steps to be able to get on the corners and get by them. In tight coverages, he just seems to get open. He's almost always open. He's almost, like I said, a Brock Bowers in that way, where he's tough to cover. And if he doesn't get the ball, it's because like either three guys are draped upon him or, the quarterback can't get in the ball on time. And Luther Burden likes a fight. Contested catches, okay? So balls that are basically thrown up and they're contested. This dude is well over 50% the past 2 seasons. So it doesn't matter how many people are on him, how tight they're on him. More often than not, Luther Burden III is going to come down with that ball. All right, there's a couple of things you need to look at with Luther Burden. Yes, he had declining numbers his last season over the previous season, and there's a big reason for that. His quarterback was gone, and teams were basically like, dude, that's the only guy we got to worry about. Luther Burden III, and that's that. So what they're doing is the defenses were kind of like, they're almost playing like a box and one on him. Like they were just throwing everything they could at Luther Burden, and yes, it did affect him a little bit. That's not going to happen in the pros because he's going to have other players that are going to take some of the attention away from him, and he's going to be able to create more plays by being put in positions to be more in space. Another thing is his blocking isn't the greatest. Even though he's compactly built and powerful, it's more of a technique thing than anything. I think that with the good coaching, Luther Burden III is going to be an adequate blocker in the run game. And trust me, with Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll, you got to be able to block if you're a wide receiver. One of the things that I really love about Luther Burden III is his player comp. His player comp for the pros is Deebo Samuel. They're almost the exact same guy. The way they're built, the way their game is played. But Luther Burden III is a lot younger and a whole lot cheaper. So we can get that type of player. Imagine that. We get an Alvin Kamara type player at running back and a Deebo Samuel type player at receiver. This offense is starting to look pretty good. All right, y'all, this is where it gets interesting, okay? Look, we all know that it's a very strong possibility that we're going to take a quarterback in this draft, somewhere in this draft. It's going to be earlier. Is it going to be later? Well, in this mock, it wasn't the first 2 rounds, so it's probably coming up pretty dang quick, right? And we're right, because with number pick 68 overall in the 3rd round, Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama, is mocked to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know if there's a more polarizing player in this draft for his on-field play than Jalen Milroe. There's a lot of players to be in comp to, and a lot of players that, maybe aren't that favorable for a lot of different reasons. But there's a couple of things you cannot deny about Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is smart. He's hardworking. He's a great leader. He won the academic Heisman. Okay, so this dude, he's a smart guy. He's going to be able to pick up the offense. He's an exceptional athlete. I don't know that we've seen a a faster player at the quarterback position than Jalen Milroe. I don't know that in the past, just because of his speed and maybe some of the lack of accuracy on the short intermediate passes, let's say if it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I think Jalen Milroe may have been asked to switch positions. And I think he would have done really well. But that's not where we're at right now, especially now with kind of the leeway we have for ourselves with Geno Smith. There's some things we need to really just be cognizant of. The player that came out that was kind of, closely resembling a Jalen Milroe last was Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson didn't have the completion percentage that Jalen Milroe had, but he also didn't have the crashes that Jalen Milroe had, and especially in this last season. He had way more passing touchdowns in a season that Jalen Milroe had, even though Jalen Milroe had a lot more rushing touchdowns in this last season. But there's a few things aside from the accuracy issues that are really concerning to a lot of scouts in the NFL about Jalen Milroe. His hands are a little bit smaller, and that can lead to the accuracy issues. I always felt that it was more of a footwork thing, but he also is a little bit kind of slingy with his passes. He doesn't have good form with his passes. And if you don't have that good form, you don't have that kind of like repeatable form over and over again, you can get a little flighty with the ball and cause some inaccuracies, especially when you're not too cognizant of them. Now, when you can rear him back and throw in deep, yeah, you want to be a little bit more cognizant to get the ball out there. So that's when you're on top of your game and on top of your technique. When Jalen Milroe is not on top of his technique, the ball is not accurate at all. So that's a big issue. Another issue is he hangs onto the ball a long time. He hangs onto the ball a ton. It's an issue that we have with players who are more mobile, is that they hang onto the ball more and they create more plays. But he had like a plus 3 second average seconds per drop back. That's insane. His average drop back was over 3 seconds. That's just not going to happen in the NFL. It's just not. You're asking way too much of your offensive lineman to be able to hang on to the ball for 3 seconds plus every single drop back. That's crazy. It can't happen. Okay. Also, Jalen Milroe tends to be a little bit loose with the ball away from his body and low. He's just primed for the picking for strip sacks. If you can get that under control and you can teach him into a system like a Chip Kelly system that will allow Jalen Milroe to do some more RPO game, also to use to move the pocket a little bit to gain him a little bit more time, to make easier throws for him. If you can allow him to do that, he has a really, really good strong arm. If Jalen Milroe's arm is tier 2, it's not far away from tier 1. Okay, he has a super strong arm. So you take all that together and you put it in the pot and you cook it, and what do you get? I say you get somewhere in between a Jalen Hurts and a Justin Fields. Now, I understand that Justin Fields hasn't played great up thus far, but when he got to a more stable franchise and better coaching with the Pittsburgh, he actually played a lot better, and the team record was much better when he played there. He had Luke Getsy. We all know what Luke Getsy is all about. So who knows? Like, it's not all Justin Fields' fault. Luke Getsy's absolutely terrible. Okay, so now he's going to go to New York. He's going to do his thing over there with Aaron Glenn. But that's my player comp. He's somewhere in between a Jalen Hurts and a Justin Fields. I don't think Justin Fields was ready to play right away, but he was forced into it. Jalen Hurts sat for a while and then played, and it really did him really well. I think it's going to be a similar thing. Jalen Hurts really wasn't Jalen Hurts until his third season. He sat the first year. His second year, he went to the playoffs and just got smoked in the first round. And then after that, he became a much better player. So that's what we're looking at with Jalen Milroe in the third round, number 68 overall. I don't know. I'm starting to get convinced to get on board with it. I'm not sure. All right. Up next, we're looking at, let's look at this draft overall. We had some severe deficiencies offensively last season. Okay, the offense was just abysmal. Okay, we got a quarterback of the future. We got a playmaker at running back. We got a playmaker at receiver. Both of those players fit a Chip Kelly offense. So it's not just the player that you picked, but the fit of that player's skill set to how you want to play offense. So both of those, check and check. Third round, we take a quarterback that can sit behind a quarterback that we have that's under contract for 2 seasons at least. And He's also a leader in Geno Smith. He's a good teammate. He's a very good person to emulate if you're coming in as a rookie quarterback. So these are all good things for the future of Jalen Milroe as a quarterback. So I like the way this is all stacking up. But there is a severe deficiency on the other side of the ball that not a lot of people have been talking about, and that's at cornerback. So what do we know about cornerback? What do we know about Pete Carroll? And what do we know about Patrick Graham? What we know about both of these guys is they ask a lot of their secondary, okay? They not only ask their secondary to be playmakers out there, they ask them to be versatile. They ask them to be able to be physical, but also fast, play fast. Maybe not be fast of foot, but play quickly. All right. That's why. In the 4th round, we have Bilhal Kone, corner out of Western Michigan. People are saying, who? Just bear with me for a second, okay? Let's see here. Bilhal Kone is 6'1", 190 with long arms and a 4.04 340. That sound familiar? This is like a cookie cutter guy that you put in and just kind of like, okay, this is the mold I'm looking for. This is the guy I want on my defense at corner. That's Bilhal Kone. He's the right size, he has the right build, and he has the right temperament. This guy is aggressive. Okay, he loves to use his hands, right, in the press man. Now, one thing that we're going to take a look at when it comes to Bilhal Kone is the fact that he's not super productive as far as turnovers go in college. He only had 2 interceptions in college, quite a few pass breakups, but can you convert those pass breakups into interceptions? Very similar to like a Maxx Crosby on the defensive line. Can you convert those pressures into sacks? Now, Maxx will be able to turn the corner and be able to do that. Now, can Bilhal Kone as a corner be able to kind of mold those pass breakups into interceptions? Another thing we have to take a look at with Bilhal Kone is his football IQ. He has a great understanding of route concepts, whether it's in zone or in man. He understands what the offense wants to do, and he plays accordingly. He can be susceptible to speedier receivers on the outside, that's just, if you're not a 4.3 guy as a corner, you're going to be susceptible to speed on the outside. It is what it is. So I'm not too worried about that. But he does lack that top-end speed you're looking for. A 4.43 is nothing to sneeze at, but it's not elite by any means. One of the major things to look at when it comes to Bilhal Kone is the fact that even though he's a willing tackler, his technique needs a lot of work. He tends to duck his head and dive and just kind of like want to go for the blow-up hit. And he misses some tackles that way. He needs to be able to break down and wrap up and get these guys to the ground and not worry about getting the big hit all the time. I think the coaching that he's going to receive, not only from Patrick Graham, but from Pete Carroll, is going to really help to push him forward in that respect with his technique tackling. The last thing is he gets a little bit greedy, right? He likes to jump routes because he does have a good understanding of what offenses want to do. And sometimes offensive coordinators take advantage of that because they know he's susceptible to some double moves and things like that. So if it's a traditional route concept, they may do a little bit of game out off of that to get Bilhal Kone to bite, and he can get burned. So eye discipline needs to be there. And I think that with the coaching, it's going to be a smooth transition for him. I like the pick. It's a guy that not a lot of people are talking about, but he has the skill set, he has the build, he has the temperament to go out there and be a great player for us in the secondary. All right, round 5, the last round in this mock draft, 5-round mock for the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Raiders are going to get some help on the interior offensive line. Bryce Cabeldue, guard out of Kansas. Now, so Cabeldue is about 6'4", almost 6'5", only about 300 pounds. I say only, but for his height, he's not really that bulky. Okay, so he needs to add a little bit of weight so he can anchor a little bit better on the inside. But the guy has a ton of experience. He's played over 3,000 college snaps, started almost 50 games, most of them at left tackle, but this last season he did play right tackle. Now, his arms are a little bit shorter. They're not super short, but for his height, they're only about 32 and a half inch arms. It's not optimal for a tackle, which is why he's kind of that, and his weight, he's kind of going to be pushed into a guard. But on top of that, he is super athletic. He had a sub 540. He was like 4.92 40. Also, he had a 32-inch vertical. It shows some explosion in the lower body and some athletic ability. On top of that, this dude is nasty. He has a mean streak. He's like a Jackson Powers Johnson. Imagine having 2 Jackson Powers Johnsons play next to one another. That's what Cabeldue is. Like that type of mentality, okay? He plays through the echo of the echo of the echo of the whistle, all right? Now, He can get penalized a little bit because of it, but I think we can rein it in. Jackson Powers-Johnson didn't have too many of those type of issues with us last season, but imagine two of those guys next to one another. Oof, it sounds really good. A couple of things you have to worry about with Cable Do is the fact that due to his short arms on the edge, he let a lot of those edge players get into his chest a little bit, control the action. I don't think that's going to be so much of an issue on the inside moving into guard. Also, he wasn't really consistent in the run game, anchoring guys off the point. Again, it's not going to be too much of an issue on the inside where you don't really have to push guys out of the way like you would like on the edge. And I think both of these issues are more due to the fact that he let defenders get into his chest and kind of control the action. Again, not going to be too much of an issue on the inside with the guys who are a little bit smaller and play a little bit more compact. I think his build is more of a kind of phone booth fighter anyway. So I think it's going to be a good position for him to be on the inside interior offensive line for us going forward. All right, now I kind of did some research on this. My player comp is James Daniels. And James Daniels is a starting guard for the Steelers. And that guy's got a screw loose. That guy is a super aggressive guard that likes to go out there and he likes to get into fights. This dude, like he doesn't play football, he fights. He goes out there and he fights on the interior offensive line. I think this is Bryce Cable Do written all over him. I think it's going to be something that we're going to really like to see with those big bulking bullies that Pete Carroll loves to have in the interior. All right, guys, that's my time for today. Appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below about this mock draft. Again, let's not get so much tied to the specific player themselves, but look at the philosophy of the players that we did select, what their strengths are, and how they fit into how we want to play moving forward. We got playmakers in the backfield and out wide. We got the quarterback of the future. We got somebody in the secondary out wide to defend. And also we got a guy on the interior offensive line with these 5 picks. I think they're pretty good picks. And the player comps, I think, are pretty spot on. Make sure to please like, comment, and subscribe to this video. It's a great way to support the channel. It's absolutely free. And it's a bare minimum you can do to support the channel besides doing nothing and just watching the video, which, of course, I do appreciate. All right, guys, that's my time. Until next time, everybody. Peace. Hey, Raider Nation. Thanks for watching. There's plenty more where that came from. Go ahead and smash that like button. Drop a comment. Make sure to subscribe and share to all your socials. It's the bare minimum you can do without doing absolutely nothing.